everyone, and welcome to On the Spot. I'm your host, Rich Gallup. I'm joined by Ryan.
Hey, what's going on?
Davis.
Different Ryan this week.
Not Ryan McDonald. What's going on? Where's Ryan McDonald?
Ryan McDonald is gone. I don't know, where is Ryan McDonald?
Ryan McDonald's in New York right now for a press event for a video game.
That's right. He's seeing some kind of video game or something.
Some sort of video game, which I'm sure you'll hear about more later on the site. But
we always have everything. So
we got a great show today. We're giving away some soccer stuff. Winning 11-8 international. Some jerseys. It'll be good. This is a football, but it's the wrong shape.
It's a football, and they're kits.
Yeah, we'll call them kits. Sure.
Fair enough.
Strips. That's the other word. Kits or strips. But we are joined by Sarge Shaw from GameSpot Hardware. What's going on, Solid J?
Not too much.
Now, Sarge, earlier this week, was it earlier this week? At the International Solid State Circuit Conference here in San Francisco.
Where?
International Solid State Circuit Conference here in San Francisco.
Good.
We heard phrases like 90 nanometer process, 234 million transistors, and a 220 millimeter square. What was all this talking about? What do they mean?
What you're talking about there is a cell processor. That's a chip basically designed by Sony, Toshiba, and IBM. They want to use this thing in the PlayStation 3 along with everything else they can think of. Servers, TVs, toasters, whatever you name it, they want it there.
So this is going to be the heart of the PlayStation 3.
Yes, it will. And it basically it consists of one processing unit and 8 SPUs. The SPUs are the synergistic processing units, no relation to gem and the holograms.
Oh,
Synergy, that's right.
I forgot. Oh,
man,
I'm bummed.
Anyways.
It has nothing. Anyways, continue.
So basically, you have, if we were to apply this to a simple analogy in terms of managers and workers, the processing unit is the manager, and then you have 8 workers, which are the synergistic processing units. And they just divide up all the tasks and do all their work independently. This is akin to the, I guess, multi-core processing for like the new Intel Pentium 4 or 5s, whatever they're called now.
Or like gem and the hologram.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So the idea is that it's able to sort of process a lot of different stuff in parallel.
All at the same time.
Is a big deal of this. Now this is obviously going to be the core for the PlayStation 3, but then we're also going to have the NVIDIA GPU to power the graphics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a question. Now they're touting how the cell processor can work with another cell processor, and maybe something about a cyber world, I forget. But is it possible that the PlayStation 3 could have more than one cell processor in it?
Possibility, but cost would be ridiculous, I'm guessing. Right now, if you look at a decent-sized processor like the Pentium 4, which is 120-odd million transistors, it runs a few $100 just for the chip.
Just for the chip, it's a few $100 just for the chip?
And then, of course, you have like the graphics cards from NVIDIA and ATI, which are also in the range of 200 million transistors. These things also cost a few $100.
Interesting.
So if you had multiple cores in the PlayStation 3 along with the NVIDIA GPU, I don't know what the cost is.
Maybe they let us take 2 of them and like form them up like Voltron. Over here at the office, we get some sort of mega PS3.
That'd be nice.
That'd be really nice.
This all sounds very technical, but it seems like we're not going to really get a sense of what this stuff really truly means until we start seeing it in action, until we start seeing games.
Until we actually get to play with it, it's still all just numbers, and it could be fluff. But it probably isn't.
So speaking of just numbers, you said this is clocked around 4 gigahertz right now, did you say?
3 to 4.6 gigahertz.
3 to 4.6. Now, just for comparison, right now, your Xbox has a P3 733 megahertz. Your GameCube has a PowerPC 485 megahertz, and the PlayStation 2 has twin 295 megahertz processors. And what are they called there? Like
the Emotion Engine.
Emotion Engine, Dream Engine.
But now it's kind of difficult to make a direct comparison between these
there's
for the
such
megahertz
disparate engineering processes that you can't really draw a line together.
So we'll have to wait soon.
And GameSpot hardware will stay locked on the cell processor as we learn more about it, so be sure to check out GameSpot hardware. GameSpot hardware. I could say the solid state thing. I can't say GameSpot hardware. Also currently on GameSpot hardware is the PSP 101 feature. Tell us what that's all about, sir.
PSP 101 contains everything you need to know about the PSP. We got everything from pricing to what games are being released to how the square button's screwy to even like the networking capabilities of it. Check it out.
Do you show us how to twist the PSP and launch UMDs dangerously at people?
Not at the moment, but we could add that very soon.
That'd be good.
Yeah. We should do that.
But everything else you need to know about the PSP for launch in the U.S.
So basically, if you're trying to convince your mom, your dad, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, someone to buy you the PSP, go to the PSP 101 feature, and it'll answer all their questions about how like the wireless networking works, how many pixels are in the screen, aspect ratio, all this great stuff. Also, PSP 101 is part of the entire GameSpot PSP Launch Center, which is brand new. Ryan Davis, can you tell us about the PSP Launch Center?
The PSP Launch Center is basically a collection of everything that we have on the PSP for the U.S. launch. All of the games that are going to be coming out in what they call the launch window, which is around the March release date. You can get all of the previews, all the developer interviews, screenshots, movies, the whole kit and caboodle. You can find that on the site right now.
Very cool. Very cool.
It is
Now,
excellent.
Sarge, you have some time to take a couple quick questions?
Yeah, sure.
Sweet. Ryan, you have any blah, blah, blah. Sammy Elbaz in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. By the way, if you're a GameSpot Complete member, the best part of On the Spot is hearing from you, the viewer. So look at the form on the page as a GameSpot Complete member. Send in your questions. Home will run them over to us. We'll read them on the air. If you don't see a form on the page, that means you're not a GameSpot Complete member. So pony up, and we'll hear from you soon. Cool. So Sammy Elbaz in Fort Lauderdale, Florida says, he's talking about what you were saying earlier. Being the cell chip is going to be over 4 gigahertz. Would this mean we see an increase of the classic $299 price of a system to around $450 to $500? Would you say?
It is
educated guess.
It is a distinct possibility that it might go up, seeing as they also want to make this like basically an integrated box where you have your media center, your DVD player. I mean, it's not for certain yet, but
they're
it
kind
could
of
happen.
towards that that set-top box concept that they've been reaching for
so
all these years.
It could just not be for gamers. It could be for everyone.
That's cool. Do you have any questions?
I've got one from James Johnson from Boston, a.k.a. the Town of Champions.
The Town of Champions. That's great. I like that. Anyways, what's the question?
With the capabilities of the PS3 cell processor and the Blu-ray technology, do you guys have any idea of what the in-game graphics will be like?
I have a guess.
Go for it, Rich.
Very good.
I think so.
I think they're going to be very good.
Sick would be another word.
I think good.
What's that? Sick?
Yeah.
Sick is
Perhaps wicked sick
Wicked
for our
sick.
Bostonian friends.
That would be wicked sick.
Yeah, it would be.
That would be wicked sick.
All right, thanks, James.
Nice. And Jordan Townsend wants to know, I just wonder what kind of impact using the new cell processor will have on the games we'll be seeing on the PlayStation 3. I've heard a lot of hype of this new awesome processor, but no word on if this will A, give better graphics, B, better AI, C, larger maps, or whatever the major innovation in the new games might be. Thank you, Jordan. So basically,
it's going to be all of the above, but how far ahead, we still don't know.
Well, I mean, this is going to be one of those things where it will be largely, this is the hardware. It's going to be to the actual developers to make use of it. The AI is not just inherent to the chip. It's going to take these developers actually developing good AI and making use of what hardware there is. So it's all this stuff is going to be unproven until someone actually does it.
Cool. So for more information, check out GameSpot Hardware. It's a little word that says hardware somewhere up here on top of the page. For the, what's it called? The PSP Launch Center, go to GameSpot.com/features/PSP Launch 05. You'll find it. It has links there to all the launch games, all the content we have, previews, developer interviews, gameplay footage, and it'll be updated as we get closer to launch, right?
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming by, Sarge.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Everyone check out GameSpot Hardware. But right now, coming up, our own Ryan McDonald, although he's way far away at a press event, he left behind a late contribution to GameSpotting Live showing how much his Japanese PSP has changed his day-to-day life. Check it out.
Recent announcement of the PSP's price and date, I was once again reminded that not everyone has one of these little guys just yet. And most people haven't even actually seen one yet, or at least in person, which is pretty much the only reason I imagine people still try to compare the PSP to the DS. In fact, one of the reasons I wanted to do this was, with all the coverage we've done on the PSP, I'm still amazed by the questions that keep showing up on our forums. So instead of giving you a rundown of all of the capabilities the PSP has, I thought it'd be more interesting to show how life has changed for me since I got my PSP back in December. First off, I don't hate riding the bus nearly as much as I used to. In fact, when presented with the option of riding in a car or commuting with Jeff and Alex as it might be, I find myself sometimes leaning toward the bus. Not that I don't love Jeff and Alex, but sometimes I just want to get a solid hour of Ridge Racers in. Waiting for a plane at the airport, riding a bus, pretty much any activity that has any form of waiting involved with it has become much less of a pain now. I got a 512 SanDisk Memory Stick Pro Duo, which holds a heavy list of songs with a couple of episodes from a few TV shows as well. Some might say an iPod is easier to use as an MP3 player, but I watch movies and play games too. With the new case I got for the PSP, I'm able to peek the end of the remote control wire out of the case and control my music on the bus with one hand. I just put the PSP controls on hold so I don't accidentally hit a button when it's in the case and just use the remote control. The video action of the PSP is amazing, probably my favorite feature on the unit. My son and I love the Justice League, regular and unlimited, so we've got a wicked collection of them that we record off a TV. I encoded them for the PSP and not only watched them myself, but also let the boy watch on car rides that might otherwise be a little too long for him. Which brings me to my next point, durability. Am I crazy letting a 3-year-old handle a PSP? Not exactly, because the PSP is a lot more durable than you might think. Have you guys seen this video that made it around on the net a few weeks back? All in all, it's been one of the coolest little things I've ever owned. Certainly one of the best things I've owned recently. This is coming from a guy who used to play Counter-Strike on the bus. I just can't help but think of all the crazy stuff that it might be possible to do with the PSP in the future. I mean, we've all heard that possible list of things that include a web browser and a whole slew of PDA functionalities. Plus, you must have heard about the cell phone adapter that may one day turn your PSP into a cell phone. Plus, with TalkMan and a supposed microphone peripheral, the PSP will not only be a language translator, but a microphone conceivably could be repurposed to use the unit as a little short-range walkie-talkie. Just looking at the bottom of the PSP, you'll notice what looks like a cradle connection that would be allowed, that would allow the unit to pull power from a device that it was pressed up against. If that's the case, I'd love to rig my Jeep with a cradle of some sort that would let me pop my PSP right into the dash and become my, my head unit for my stereo and be able to play my MP3s right from my PSP just by sticking it right on my dash. As it is, I use the PSP with an FM transmitter that lets me listen to my MP3s on my car stereo. With all its possibilities, it's not hard to imagine the PSP becoming an input device for all kinds of stuff. Can you imagine it being somewhere and having a Wi-Fi trivia game be active for all the PSP owners in the area? How about sitting in a theater, being able to use the PSP to vote on how you'd like the movie to go? All I know is that a lot of people who are on the fence about how cool the PSP is will more than likely come around once they see it in person.
I would like to thank Ryan for leaving us that video before he left.
What were those Japanese guys doing to that PSP?
I think they're trying to break it, or they're trying to prove it couldn't be broken. Or
I don't have a PSP. Why they got to break that one?
It was already broken. That was what the story I heard, is that it was already broken and they were sending it back for repair or something, so they figured, well, why not break it the rest of the way, right?
That's some crazy music, sure.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And obviously the PSP has changed Ryan McDonald's life.
It obviously has. He's so excited about that thing.
He does. He loves it.
Every day on the way home.
Yeah.
He's always talking about it. It's like, I did this, I put these videos on it, it's awesome. It's nonstop.
We're now being joined by Jeff Gerstmann, of course. Thanks for coming by, Jeff. Here,
What up,
you
Jeff?
know the PSP. You already have one from
Sure.
Japan, correct? Ryan
Yeah.
and I are sitting here waiting for our pre-orders to come in slowly, forever.
I made it happen.
counting
I
down
went
the
and
days.
got one,
You just had to
You
go
guys
to
just
Japan.
you guys should have taken, take matters into your own hands.
We should have. But anyway, here's a question from another Jeff in Phoenix, Arizona. I heard something about the PSP to be a cell phone, media player, or a web browser. I was wondering if these rumors had any base.
Sony's talking a lot of real big stuff about what they want to do with the PSP in the future. And of course, like at E3, they showed, a PSP with like a keyboard hooked up to it and all this other stuff. And, you have people like Kaz going on the record, saying like, hey, we're going to do a web browser and stuff like this. So I think all that stuff will eventually happen. But since the system can be updated via the firmware, that's all stuff they can add after the launch. I don't think the launch system we'll see in the U.S. will be too much different than the one that's out in Japan now. But what they do from there is anyone's guess.
But it seems like there does seem to be a lot of capacity for online stuff in the PSP.
Yeah,
since they did just announce that 5 of the U.S. launch games would be playable online.
Yeah, that's huge. That's crazy.
That is absolutely bananas.
Completely. But yeah, it seems like a web browser would be one of those sooner rather than later things, because as I understand it, there are a lot of like public hotspots that go to a web page first and force you to click on a yes, I agree to not use your internet connection for evil. And without that, I've actually been unable to use my Japanese PSP to connect to those public hotspots. Oh. So, with the rate they keep throwing out the word public hotspot, you'd think that they would actually, find a way to get it working on those public hotspots pretty soon.
Yeah, I have a home network. I have a wireless network at home, and I took me a whole weekend to figure out how to make it secure, and I finally did. And I'm wondering what kind of interface the PSP is going to allow me to have to access that.
Well, it'll support just wide open connections. It also supports web encryption, so you can just enter your SSID and your encryption key, and the PSP will connect from there.
Very cool.
But yeah, anything beyond that, I don't know that it'll be able to handle it right out of the box.
Well, here's a good question from Chris in San Jose before we move on to Capcom's press event. Any details on the infrastructure mode? Will you have an identity that is shared between games like Xbox Live, or is your identity and settings like the PS2 defined per game?
It depends on the game. Some games will use, basically, the PSP has a nickname that you enter in the menu. It ships with one that's like, a PSP and then a 3-digit number, but you can change it to whatever you want. And some games identify you by that nickname, and some games let you enter your own nickname. So it'll just depend.
Very cool. Great. Shall we move on?
Let's move on.
Great.
Capcom.
Capcom last week in Las Vegas. What else was going on in Las Vegas last week, Jeff?
DICE.
DICE was
the
going on.
DICE show, which is a big game developer get-together where developers sit down and talk shop. Mark Echo was out there, not quite a game developer yet, but he's in the works of becoming one. So
talking a big game.
Yeah, definitely talking up his game real big, and maybe he'll be like the next Vin Diesel, kind of coming in, outsider coming in, making a cool game. We'll see.
We'll see, hopefully. But around the corner from DICE, Capcom held a press event where they showed off a bunch of their games that will be coming out over the course of 2005. And we have a ton of video, previews, and developer news for pretty much all these games. So let's break it down, shall we?
Sure.
First up, Resident Evil Outbreak File number 2.
That's more of Resident Evil Outbreak, the online Resident Evil game.
It's basically an update, new scenarios for that game. Not a big difference, like technology-wise. Seems like it's basically the same game, but new scenarios.
So this is a game, it takes place right after all the business goes down in Raccoon City, and you work as a team trying to get through away from the zombies.
4-player online, crazy stuff.
And zombies, I believe.
Yes, zombies.
I've heard of zombies.
I'm told there's zombies in it.
Yeah.
And there's also zombie-like things in Darkstalkers Chronicles: The Chaos Tower for the PSP, which was shown off there again.
It was. Now, is this going to be a launch title for the PSP?
Yes. That's Capcom claims that game will be out in time for the system's launch, and they're adding a new mode to the US version that's going to be kind of like some kind of 4-player mode. Via the Wi-Fi. Right now, the Japanese version has 2-player over the Wi-Fi. This one will be 4-player, but I think it's more of a round-robin tournament thing and not so much like a tag battle or anything crazy like that.
Very cool. Now, Devil May Cry 3, probably the most anticipated Capcom game of the year. It comes out next month. Mm-hmm. We had it on the show recently. What can you tell us about it?
That song in the trailer is awesome. I'm way into that. No, I mean, let's face it. Devil May Cry 2,
not so good.
Not so good. Devil May Cry 3, looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. That
different
game,
fighting style stuff.
Yeah,
really
you can develop Dante in a few different ways, and I think that game looks like it could be really awesome.
It said this is a prequel to the first game, so he's kind of it's a young Dante.
Yeah, it's like a younger Dante.
Punk.
You think they go with Devil May Cry 0 or something? Capcom's never been shy with calling games 0 or X or all that stuff, but no, Devil May Cry 3, but it's the prequel.
Sure. Right now we're looking at Without Warning. Without Warning is a third-person action game that they just announced, brand new for the Xbox and PlayStation 2. It's kind of based on 24. It's like 12 hours of continuous gameplay, and you switch between 3 military types and 3 civilians in this complex where terrorists have taken over and they're going to blow it up or something.
I love 24. I love Kiefer Sutherland.
Games based on 24 are the hot thing for 05. Between this and Meteos for the DS, we are going to see a big
obviously
24. The
DS
puzzle game from the creator of Luminous.
Obviously inspired.
Inspired by 24, strangely enough. We have an interview with him that we'll have more info on media soon, and you can hear more about that.
Speaking of inspired, before it blows us by, I think we should pause and talk about this game we're looking at right now.
Saiban.
What is it?
It is a lawyer adventure game.
Finally!
For the DS?
Yes.
Legal adventure is what we need on the DS. It's a series that's been going in Japan on the GBA for years. I think since like 2001. There's been 3 of them already, and now they're bringing it to the DS. And because Capcom likes to play it raw, it is coming out in the US.
What is it?
It's an adventure game. It is like courtroom drama, and there is dialogue-based action in it. It's sort of like classic adventure games, except that you play this crazy anime lawyer.
Yeah, and then you object to things, and
the objections look so awesome.
Yeah. I heard like your assistant is developing mental, like psychic powers or something as well, and
there's just so much great anime vibe to it. I am really looking forward to that one.
It's like Law and Order times 2. Hopefully they'll have some kind of sound effect that rivals the Law and Order sound.
That would be really good in Japanese, some Japanese phrase.
Yeah.
All right, right now we're looking at Beatdown: Fist of Vengeance, also for the PlayStation 2, Xbox, coming out in the 4th quarter. They say third-person action. They say it's kind of Final Fight-ish. 5 different characters. You run through the streets and beat everybody up.
Like I did just do a fat pile driver, so.
Yeah, I mean, people have been trying to do action games like this for a long time, and they rarely work. Hopefully this one will buck that trend. Everyone says that we need to, take Final Fight to the next level, and very few people seem to be stepping up to the plate.
Because what we end up with is the bouncer. So.
Yeah, basically. So hopefully this game will be rad.
Right now we're looking at Haunting Ground, which is another kind of strange game. This one's coming out in May. You play as an 18-year-old named Fiona Belly. You lose your parents in a car crash, you wake up in a castle that you've inherited, and you have to run away from this big creepy dude named Debilitas, and you have a white German Shepherd with you named Huey.
That's what we know, right?
Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, sure. That sounds creepy. I don't know, dude.
There's some crazy trailers for it, and also currently on the site there's a developer interview for this game, and to learn more, let's check it out right now.
I wanted to do kind of a survival horror game with action and use a female character, which may not go over too well with the retailer, be it the retailers or the gamers themselves. So in order to add in ability to do attacks or different kind of actions, and then why don't we put a dog in and have that kind of cooperation. So once they started heading down that road, putting in a dog, letting the player control, give orders, come, go, that kind of gameplay system, once they started to think about that and go in that direction, it turned into a really good, plan for a game. So when you first start out and when you find the dog, it's not yours. It's the dog doesn't know you. You don't know the dog. So even if you tell it to do something, it won't really listen. You do have buttons, come, go. You can yell at the dog, you can praise or pet the dog, but it's not really that close to you at the beginning. So in order to bring the dog closer, become closer to the dog, you give it an order, and if he follows the order, you praise the dog, and if he doesn't do it, then you scold him, and then that kind of teaches him to listen. And so if you get that out of the way, and once you get further in the game, and you need, you're being chased by someone, or you're in that kind of situation, the dog will help you by attacking or protecting you, or if you need the dog to go through a hole and find something or go do something, then it will pick up on that and really help you out a lot more. They wanted to kind of differentiate it from other survival horror games, so you have your character, but you also have a dog that you can communicate with and use to solve puzzles and do that kind of thing.
Thank you very much. That game's looking really good. Maybe looks kind of spooky. And
Looks cool.
And the
big guy looks freaky.
The big guy looks very freaky.
It's got style.
Everyone likes the dog too. Nice German Shepherd.
Yeah,
I used to have a German Shepherd.
Did you? The questions are flying in, by the way. James Conner, Milford, N Factor in Phoenix, Conor O'Brien in New York, Ronald B in Los Angeles. All these people want to know more about the PlayStation 3. Steve in Brussels. And the cell processor. We don't know anything about the PlayStation 3 beyond what you can find on GameSpot hardware right now. Unfortunately, everything else.
But
we're
going to know soon.
We should know soon. Sony says they're going to show it off before E3, and that's May, and it's February now. So
not a lot of time.
Not a whole lot of time left before they reveal that it's going to be made entirely out of leather on the outside, and it's going to
Really?
Yes, it's going to run on vampire blood to fuel the cell processor.
Vampire blood's really expensive.
Yeah, no, totally. It's
Jeff, right now in your right hand, you're currently holding a Nintendo DS. And what game do you have fired up?
this is WarioWare Touched, which is the latest game in the WarioWare line. It's coming out next week for the DS.
So those not familiar with the WarioWare, it's manic, crazy collections of mini games.
Yeah, they basically set up a little thing they call micro games, and it's one basic activity, but then the key is that they throw these basic activities at you one after another, and they constantly get faster and faster, and it eventually drives you insane.
Well, let's fire it up. Let's see what we got.
We're going to do the 8-volt level here, which is basically themed after old Nintendo games.
Oh, very cool.
And so you can see a little Mario and Zelda in there.
So It is very referential. The games have always kind of shown a lot of used a lot of old Nintendo stuff in them.
Yeah, especially in this section, the little Mario game there, and here I have to drag the Metroid off of Samus and hold it there, which gets a lot harder when there are 3 or 4 of them, believe you me.
Silly Metroid.
Yeah.
Okay, that first one you did, Mario, looked like you were kind of cheating, so you didn't have to actually...
Oh, man.
Oh, geez.
Upper left. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh. Nice.
And I said, now, like I told you, to get the coins. You're not controlling Mario running across the screen. You're
Right,
just
I'm tapping
the coins.
Oh. I don't even...
I don't know what happened there, but you did.
Why were you blowing
it had
on
the lips on it, so that means I'm supposed to...
So it actually
blow into
uses the microphone.
It does. There's one whole subsection of mini games with a little robot named Mike, and for that you just kind of blow into the microphone over and over again.
So you get winded doing that?
And here I am playing old WarioWare on new WarioWare.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
There's a GBA on your DS.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that WarioWare is known for is that this game is kind of manic, very frantic. Does your hand get in the way at all while you're playing?
A little bit.
Not in this case, obviously, because you're blowing on it again. But
So I just blow on that, and just a little Donkey Kong 3 action there.
I've got a couple of questions here from some of our readers about WarioWare.
Kick 'em.
I've got Will Griswold, who is from the U.S. Good place.
Wally World.
Yes. Now that WarioWare Touch is coming out, I'm most likely going to be tearing up my bottom DS screen. Is it required to have a screen protector to prevent scratching? Have you noticed?
I've been playing this for the past few days for the review, and scribbling on the screen pretty heavily, and I haven't really noticed any problems.
Oh, yeah, it's like the Hogan's Alley there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then
wait till this part, though. This is the best part.
It's, oh, God, this picture of you. And then when they blow up, they turn into old Nintendo controllers. I don't even know what that means.
You're a sharpshooter. That's what it means.
That's mind-blowing.
Robbie, IV in Putnam, Connecticut. I think IV might mean 4. How many separate microgames are there in WarioWare Touched? Is it comparable to the number of games in the original WarioWare?
Yeah, it's around the same number. I haven't counted, but there's
Is there a lot of repeats? Is there a lot of new stuff?
The thing is there are a lot of repeats from the WarioWare game that isn't out here yet, which is the second GBA game that actually came out before this one in Japan, and that's the one that has the tilt sensor in it.
Oh, that one's awesome.
And that one is awesome. Yeah, so they came up with a bunch of really crazy ideas for that one. You have to like tilt the system to make things happen, and some of those show up in here, and then some of the old WarioWare games show up in there too. So I don't even know. Oh, I'm okay. See, because I'm just.
Was that Goonies? What is that?
Some crazy Japanese game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, they make references to all kinds of stuff, whether it came out here or not.
You're
Duck Hunt.
just
Awesome.
talking about WarioWare Twisted, which comes out in March. This
Yeah.
game comes out on Monday, I believe, is when it ships.
Next week, yeah.
Very cool. Can we tell people when to expect more on this game on the site?
We'll have a review this week. And today's Thursday, and it's not going up today, so...
You're giving away too much.
Sorry, all right.
You're giving away.
I think I know when it's going to go up. I have a hunch.
Speaking of stuff on the site, thank you very much, Jim, for providing the camera work. Jeff, thank you very much for demoing. Feel free to send in some more questions for Jeff on WarioWare. Week in reviews. We had a very nice week of games for this last week here on the site, didn't we?
Yeah, it's been kind of a slow year so far. I mean, the year always gets off to a slow start, but as we get towards March and the end of the quarter, that's when the companies go, oh, wait, we got, stockholders to, make happy, so we got to start shipping stuff. So it starts to pick up, and yeah, it's like last week has really been the hotness has started to
let's
drop.
talk about some of the reviews that we saw on the site.
Yeah.
First off, Shadow of Rome from Capcom. Very cool game. We've had it on the show a couple times.
Yeah.
Gory gladiatorial combat plus some sneaky stuff. What's going on?
Yeah, there are two playable characters, basically. So you have your gladiator combat going on, and then they're almost like bonus stages where you play as, a little stealth kid, and you're running around throwing out banana peels for guys and cracking them over the head with vases and
Really?
kind of
Banana peels?
Banana peels,
Awesome.
Straight up banana peels. Awesome.
Looks like a
And it's
cool
from the
game.
makers of Onimusha.
It
very
does
nice.
kind of have an Onimusha vibe to it. There.
It does.
It looks very cool though.
And it got an 8.2. Check out the full review. I'm telling you that right now. It's very cool. Another game, big sports game, highly anticipated by a couple people around here. NBA Street Volume 3 from EA.
Yeah.
All kinds of platforms. We also had this game on the show where we showed Mario dunking.
Yeah, so that's like the GameCube thing. The other two versions have online.
Oh.
I'll take the online. Sure. No, that game's awesome.
That game is awesome.
I've been playing that for a few days now, and yeah, and NBA Street is wicked sick.
So this is by far the best one in the series so far.
Yeah, totally.
It really stepped up the game. It seems like Volume 2 was kind of a little bit of a rehash. It kind of
Definitely.
cranked it out.
Yeah,
But this one they've stepped it up.
They have stretched the game out, etched
Yes.
the name out,
They have
wrote Volume 3 on top. Dude,
That's
yes.
key.
They have like 3-person game breakers. They have a dunk contest, which isn't confusing like NBA Live.
Yeah, like
Bob's
a
big fan of
really
that.
good on-screen combo meter to let you know how many ankles you're breaking and all that stuff before you go to the rim.
The Beastie Boys.
Yes, the Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys are
in
good.
it.
Well, I think they might have been. Were they better in NBA Jam Tournament Edition, or are they better in this?
Only because you
had the big heads.
Yeah, you got big head mode in that. So
And back then, the Beastie Boys, I'm going to say, were a little bit cooler. I'll say it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm a huge Beastie Boys fan.
well,
but anyways.
yeah,
Yeah,
perhaps.
game scored 9.1 across all platforms. Check out the full review, video review, gameplay, movies, the whole works. Now, Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic 2: The Sith Lords came out on the PC. Came out on the Xbox back in December.
Yeah.
How's it looking on the PC?
pretty much the same. I mean, if you have a better PC, obviously it's going to look a little bit better. There's still some frame rate stuff here and there, but it's still a great game.
Very cool. And now, the storyline, if I recall correctly, picks up a couple years after the first game ended. You're like the last Jedi. The Sith have wiped out everyone else.
Yeah, basically, and it picks up from there. Same type deal. You're running into a bunch of different traveling companions and going on a bunch of quests and doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Some old characters, some
Yeah.
new characters, all
Old and
kinds of
new.
great stuff. Great.
Familiar
One-
faces.
Familiar faces, very
Yeah.
nice. One last review that went up we're going to talk about. Ryan Davis, you know this one especially.
Yes.
Champions Return to
Champions
Arms.
Return to Arms, the sequel to Snowblind's Champions of Norath, which came out last year. Snowblind cranked this one out, and it kind of shows. It's the same sort of Diablo-inspired hack-and-slash action that Snowblind has been doing for years. And the engine still looks good. The action is still pretty satisfying. The online's gotten better. They've introduced server-side character stuff, so people can't be cheating so horribly.
Yeah.
But it does feel the same to a fault. it's a little too familiar at this point.
I don't know. You know, you left out one key part, and that's Puma Man.
That's right. They added 2 new races. They added the Lizard Man and the Cat Man, and as the Cat Man, you can have a bunch of different skins that you can choose from, and one of them is the Puma Man, which is fantastic. That was my favorite. I enjoyed.
Yeah,
I loved playing as the Berserker. So, and what did I even give that game? I gave that game a 7.8. It's
solid score.
Solid score for that game.
If you like that kind of game, you should definitely check it out. Full review, video review starring Owen Ryan Davis right here. Gameplay, movies, the whole works. But reviews were not the only thing that went up on the site recently.
Oh, heck no.
My favorite feature that we saw recently was GameSpot's simulation of the Super Bowl. And not just because it was right and the Patriots dominated, but because it was a lot of fun to make. We brought some guys on with us, and Brian and Bob looked all nice in their suits. I think we have some footage of it.
I love that feature so much. That is one of my favorite things you guys have done in a while. It is. You have to check this out. It is very funny. It very much captures the feel of sports broadcasting.
Bob will never get between me and Susie Colbert. Ooh. You know, he might think that he has a shot. No shot.
No shot.
Yeah, no. We're happy at home.
I wonder if Susie Colbert knows how much you talk about her on this site.
She does. I tell her all about
she does. That's what I was wondering.
Nice.
Cool. All right. And another thing we're going to talk about, I'm also tell you right now where Ryan is right now in New York. Jeff, where is he?
He's in New York seeing Godfather, the game. The game.
The game.
The game. The Godfather, the movie, the game. And I don't know what to think of that. I mean, come on, that movie's old, man. But how do you even make a game out of the Godfather?
Well, it's interesting because what they've revealed so far is we know that you're going to play as an original character. That we know that like Tom Hagen, the Robert Duvall character, and Sonny, the Jimmy Kahn character, and obviously Don Corleone are characters in the game, but you play as an original character. So it seems like they're going to kind of
Godfather Guy 10.
Yeah, it's going to be. Oh wow! That's awesome.
That's a great name.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
What I think is weird is that they got Marlon Brando in the studio to record voice for Don Corleone before he passed on.
So this is his last thing.
It is. It's kind of like Orson Welles in Transformers the movie. You could say this is Marlon Brando's Transformers
the movie.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Now the voice of Don Corleone, that's not really Marlon Brando's natural voice, isn't he? He had to put a little inflection into that. Do you think he could still do it at his late age? I think it'll be interesting to see.
Well, we'll find out soon enough.
Yeah,
we're gonna, I guess, yeah.
We'll have more on it soon.
Very soon.
That's what I'm told.
Another feature we had on the site recently was an interview with the team behind God of War. This is another game that has everyone around here very excited from Sony. Very cool. David Jaffe, creator of the Twisted Metal series.
Yeah, he
correct?
worked on Twisted Metal Black and produced some of that Incog stuff, and it's very big.
Very cool. And this game's looking really great. We had an interview with the whole team, but here's a part with David Jaffe. Check it out.
My name is David Jaffe. I am the game director of God of War here at Sony Santa Monica Studios. The last time we talked to you guys, we had first introduced God of War, and since then we've just basically been building more levels, building more monsters, making the movies to tell the story. It's really because God of War is so unique and special case level by level. It isn't like we kind of built the game in the first 6 months and then just kind of threw in new art. Every single level is unique and every single puzzle is different, and so we've really just been working our asses off trying to actually tell this epic game and make this epic game in time for release this March. Athens, as the game begins, is being decimated by the god Ares, who is the son of Zeus, and he is also the god of war. And he has sort of pulled up onto the shores of Athens. He's raised all kinds of hideous monsters from Hades to come fight at his side, and he's basically destroying the city. And you play this character named Kratos, who, as sort of his last task for the gods of Olympus, Zeus and Hera and Athena, he has been sent to Athens in order to defeat Ares and stop Ares. And sort of the deal is, if Kratos can pull this off, if he can complete this final task for the gods have promised to sort of forgive him for this awful, awful deed that he did 10 years before the game begins. And that's sort of what sort of gets unveiled as the story progresses. All of the game is told in flashback. So as Kratos is committing suicide, as he's dying, he basically sort of remembers all of these events that led to his day where he decided to kill himself. And so the way we're telling the story is both using our in-game engine, which is very powerful, as well as using high-end CG movies. And the idea is that we really wanted to make a game that both in its gameplay, in its set locations, and in the movies that we play in between the game, that really has this incredibly epic feel. And not epic from a standpoint of just sweeping locations, but in terms of the melodrama and in terms of the story twists and in terms of the variety of cast and the massive numbers of people that we have in the game, we really wanted it to feel like one of those sort of old Hollywood high adventure movies from the 70s that Ray Harryhausen used to make, or that Clash of the Titans was back in the early 80s. And so all of those elements really coming together hopefully will make players feel that they've actually stepped into one of those old epic high adventure movies from my childhood and hopefully from theirs as well. God of War will be out March 22nd this year on the PlayStation 2, exclusively for the PlayStation 2. If you're into great games, if you're into action-adventure games, give us a shot. I think you're going to really, really love it. I hope you do, and let us know. Thanks very much for giving us a try.
God of War is coming out March 22nd, and we're going to have more on it on this very show sometime in March. It's going to be really cool. You're not going to want to miss it, so keep watching the show. As for right now...
Like right now.
Right now, let's have some questions.
All right, I've got one from Drew Solario in Dubuque. What's going on? The show rocks. Keep up with the good work. Not really a question. Will Sony's new UMD support interactive menus like you would find on DVDs? Jeff?
Yeah, they released a demo disc to retailers over in Japan that had a bunch of movie trailers and stuff like that, and it has basically the equivalent of a DVD menu. You can select, games or movies and go and view all the trailers and that sort of stuff. So yeah, pretty much the same.
Cool. Excellent.
Very cool. Vitor Avora, and I know I just butchered your name in Amsterdam, says...
That's the show me state.
From your experience so far of God of War, is God of War really good? What can we say?
So far, it seems cool. But we haven't seen the whole game. It could get better. It could fall apart. That's the beautiful thing.
We've seen
never know.
We've seen that Hydra sequence. That's very cool.
Yeah, and that's the Hydra sequence is on the demo disc that Sony is sending out to people. So look in your local retailers. I don't know how they distribute the demos, but they do have a demo out there of God of War. So
strong start.
You could be playing it soon.
The Incog people have done really good work before, especially in this sort of dark territory. And the game is very bloody, so that's
could be cool.
It's right up their alley.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Here's a good question from Braden Schraub in Long Beach, California. When/if the PSP becomes a cell phone or has internet capabilities, do you think that people that already have a PSP will have to buy a new one to use these features, or will they just figure out a way to get...
I think they'll figure out a way to just get stuff on there. They've got that USB port on top of it, and I'm sure they'll just find a way to just plug stuff into that.
It's a good question. I mean, they're asking right now all these bundles and everything.
Yeah.
A lot of money to pre-order PSP right now, and I'm sure everyone wants to know as much as they can before they get it.
Yeah.
Speaking of the PSP, Brian Benway in Madison, Wisconsin, wants to know if we are going to have import reviews of the PSP games before they come out. Like Rich said, it's an expensive bundle. People want to know if they should be thrown down for that stuff.
Well, we may do import reviews of games that aren't scheduled for U.S. release, but as far as the U.S. games, we're going to cover those up to right around the time of release, and we'll try to have reviews, just before or right around that period of time.
And largely because,
Yeah, there are definitely changes. They just announced Lumines this morning is going to have faster load times and different skins for the U.S.
And we're probably, these games are probably aren't going to be actually done until right around the time this is ready to launch.
It's definitely, people are staying up all night working on PSP games already so that they can have them ready in time for launch.
Someone's making a PSP game right now.
Exactly. Someone somewhere right now is typing in code for a PSP game.
Why are you watching the show? Can't get back to work.
It's crazy.
Carl in Atlanta wants to know, I was just wondering if you had to use Sony's image converter software to get video onto the PSP. I've heard that other software makes video jumpy and ugly.
Image Converter 2 is only out in Japan right now, so I've messed around with the Japanese version a little bit, and it seems to work just fine. There's also some freeware options out there, and of course, it's just a pretty standard MPEG-4 format, so there's a lot of different ways you can get video onto the system. I think it just depends on bit rates and all sorts of technical video jargon, and you're probably just best off using whatever Sony ends up supplying in the U.S.
Do you know how much that would cost if and when they release it?
I think what they did in Japan is they released a free trial version, and then you could upgrade to the full version for like 1,000 yen, which is like $8. So I assume that they'll sell it for relatively cheap when it does come out.
It does seem like the video encoding process is a pretty technical thing. You messed around with the Sony stuff. Does that seem like fairly intuitive?
The Sony stuff, you just drop a file onto one side, select one of 3 settings, and hit go.
And it just does it.
And it just copies it onto the memory stick, and you're done. So that's
easy.
definitely easy. There's a longer way to do it, and some of the freeware stuff that's out there, will take a little longer because you have to rename the file yourself and move it over there yourself and stuff like that. But it also gives you a finer level of control over the video quality. The weird thing is that there's a work-in-progress version of the PSP manual up on the FCC's site, and it says that the PSP can't handle video higher than 768K. but I've put 1500K files on there and they work fine, and they aren't jumpy or anything like that. So
maybe you have a magic PSP. That
maybe I do. I don't know.
That does that. I think that's what the case
it's hard to say until it comes out in the U.S. because they still could make some changes to how the video works on that system. And
regardless, if you don't want to buy whatever official program Sony comes out with, I'm sure
there are
after
other
a couple
options
weeks,
out there, and I'm sure people will be. People are already. There's one out for the Mac that someone made. Called IPSP that I haven't tried myself, but they try and basically make kind of like an iTunes style format for you to get MP3s and other stuff onto the PSP really easily. So there are options.
And if they make that freeware share, I'm sure download.com, sister site, will have it, and we'll link to it, and we'll tell you all about it. It'll be really good. I have one last question. Do you have any more PSP questions?
No, I don't think I really
all right,
do.
We'll make this the last question of the show then. Tom from Brighton, England. I'm confused over the situation regarding the PSP and region-free games. Some sites report the games will be region-free while others claim it is up to the publishers. Can you please clear this up?
No, that's
That's about
Sony maintains that the games will be region-free, but that the movies and music probably won't be. That said, you look on the back of the boxes that are out in Japan, there's a very clear Region 2 logo. I'm sure that the US one's going to have Region 1 all over it. That work-in-progress manual I was talking about actually has a little line in there that says the system will only play Region 1 and Region All files. But of course we asked Sony about that. They said, no, that's a work-in-progress manual. It's region-free. So they're sticking to it that the system's region-free, and hopefully that'll be the case. I assume it will be, because that's what they've said all along. But until we actually get a US PSP,
no way of knowing.
There's no way of knowing. Yeah.
Soon. Very soon.
For
more information on the PSP, check out the PSP Launch Center. They have links there to GameSpot News, which has links to that manual you're talking about, all the PDF pages. You can check it out. But right now, it's everyone's favorite part of the show, announcing winners from last week's prizes. We gave away some great stuff, great prizes. I'm sure you guys remember the questions. We gave away 3 copies of Star Fox Assault for the GameCube, and the question was, who's cooler of the squad? Who's the coolest?
Well, what was the right answer?
The right answer, obviously, Jeff, I think you know.
Slippy.
No, dude! Oh, come on, you know. It's
no copy of Star Fox Assault for you.
Slippy's not punk. Slippy's just
Falco?
kind of weak. Yeah, Falco is a punk. The correct
Falco
answer
wrote Rock Me Amadeus. He is not a punk.
The correct answer is Peppy the Rabbit. So copies of the game we're going out to John Sturgis of Gresham, Oregon, Michael Marcinko of Warren, Ohio, and Mark Townsend of West Lafayette, Indiana. And the next question we gave away 3 copies of Resident Evil 4.
Wow.
The question was,
awesome.
are they zombies in Resident Evil 4? And the answer is...
Yeah.
No, the answer is no.
Dude.
They look pretty zombie-like to me,
I'm going
dude.
to stop asking you. The correct answer is no. The first 3 people to answer the question correctly got prizes, and the winners were Alex Shrewsbury of Avon, Indiana, Thomas Brown of Warwick, Rhode Island, and Matt Butler of Dubuque, Iowa. That's 2 people from Dubuque watching the show. We're huge in Dubuque.
Dubuque is in the house for real.
Now, this week, we're giving away some great stuff. I don't know if one of you guys want to grab those jerseys right there for me, but we are giving away an Xbox copy and a PlayStation 2 copy of World Soccer Winning 11 8 International, thanks to the fine people at Konami. Very cool games, Justin Calvert's favorite. Those jerseys look pretty nice.
They look like...
They feel good.
Those are kits and strips, I believe.
Yeah,
is what they're called.
both. It's
Cool.
a soccer, it's a football kit. Footy strip.
This week's
Out
question,
on the
right?
pitch.
I want
Yep.
everyone who wants either the Xbox or the PlayStation 2 version of the game and a jersey. In the form you see on the page where it says name, location, questions, we get a lot of posts in the forums about this. How do I enter a contest? You're going to use that big box on the bottom. Big box on the bottom, right down there.
Right there.
Right down there. All right. I'm there. I want you to put your full mailing address and your name. And all right, this is going to be a video question, so we can do something a little different.
All right, okay.
Video
Go for it.
question. All right, here it is. Watch this video, and we'll be back with a question right after this.
World Soccer Winning 11-8 International is undoubtedly Konami's best soccer game to date, thanks to a number of quite dramatic improvements made both on and off the field. Like previous games in the series, the action on the pitch in Winning 11-8 is completely believable. The players move intelligently, the ball moves realistically, and you'll never score exactly the same goal twice.
Now that was a clip from the Winning 11-8 video review, which is a great video review. I recommend everyone checks it out. Now in that clip right there, how many times did Justin juggle the soccer ball? If you know the answer, I want your name, your full mailing address. Ryan Davis trying to figure it out right now. Put your answer down there. The first 2 people to get it correct will get you a soccer jersey and a copy of the game. And now if you think you missed it, you need to see it again. You don't feel like guessing. The show will be up in archival form within the next couple of hours.
Or you could just go watch the...
Or you just watch the video review and look for that clip.
Because he bounces it more in the clip than we showed. Right?
Does it? Oh, he bounces it more in the video review than we showed.
Yeah.
I'm just asking in that clip.
In that clip that we showed, not the full video review.
Okay,
Yeah, we're not asking for the full video review.
right.
I'm not going to make some people do it.
Yeah.
Just in that clip right there, how many times did he juggle
Devious.
this soccer ball?
Devious.
This soccer
That
ball
very
right
soccer
here.
ball.
This very soccer ball right here.
That football.
And that's a whole show. Thanks for coming by, guys. Jeff,
Excellent.
Ryan.
Always good to be here.
It was a good show. For Ryan McDonald, who's off in New York, and we're going to have a great show next week, too, so be sure to tune in. For the entire crew who always works so well bringing the show to you, to all you for watching, everyone at GameSpot who provides us with great content for this show, thanks a lot, and we'll catch you next time right here on the spot.